This is the government military BS that drives me insane. Like this, in my opinion, this next story is what we need to be talking about. Spread this story. After this show is done, spread this, share this, not my YouTube video, but go find information about this person that we're about to talk about and share it. Navy moves to recognize heroic Black World War II sailor who swam for hours with sharks to save 15 men. Are you ready for this? Are you ready to get both inspired and pissed? Because buckle up. The U.S. Navy Chief of Information on Saturday moved to properly recognize a heroic Black World War II sailor for swimming through the night for hours to save 15 wounded sailors. On September 5th, 1942, U.S. Navy Petty Officer First Class Charles Jackson French navigated through shark-infested waters with a rope around his waist, towing 15 wounded sailors to safety from the USS Gregory after it was bombed by the Japanese Navy near Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands. At the time, French of Omaha, Nebraska was 22 years old and serving as a mess attendant. He died at the age of 37. He died of alcoholism. At the age of 37 on November 7, 1956 in San Diego, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Described as Hero of the Year by the African-American newspaper Chicago Defender, French received a royal welcome as he returned to Omaha. The sailor was also awarded a letter of commendation and a Navy and Marine Corps medal. For that, he was awarded a Navy and Marine Corps medal and a letter of commendation. They're trying to give him the Medal of Honor because they've been trying to upgrade his award for a long time. Now let me jump over here to this article, The Story of Charles Jackson French, okay, by Bruce Wego. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this into the comment section. So there you go. It's in this, a link to this article is in the comment section now. Late one night a few years ago, while Googling information for an article on African-American swimmers, I came across a curious footnote to history. Searching the words Negro and swim, I found a reference to a set of trading cards, one of which was number 129. And look at the sign of the times here. Negro swimmer tows survivors. And if you look down here, if you're watching on the podcast, I'm reading directly. This is a quote from a World War II baseball card style memorabilia piece saying Negro swimmer tows survivors, and it's him in the water towing a life raft. So it's part of a set of World War II commemorative cards, a sort of patriotic version of baseball cards printed by a company out of Philadelphia, Gum Inc. There was no picture on the card or any other reference on eBay. I found a number of war gum cards for sale, but not number 129. So I contacted a few sellers and card collectors. One was kind enough to send me a scan of the card you can see accompanying this article. Now I had other Google clue words, Solomon Islands, USS Gregory, French, mess attendant for Googling, and the rest of the story can now be told. So the story is, French's story first came, the story is incredible. French's story first came to light when Robert and Adrian, a young ensign, told a reporter from the Associated Press about how powerful 22-year-old Negro, and obviously I want to reiterate again, the language used in this article is obviously dated. I'm reading directly from the article. I'm quoting it. Named French, and how he swam through shark-infested waters, towing to safety a raft load of wounded seamen from the USS Gregory, sunk by Japanese naval gunfire near Guadalcanal. Ensign Adrian was the only one on the bridge to survive and floated over into the water as the ship sank below him. Hearing voices, he found a life raft filled with 24 wounded men. Adrian, though superficially wounded, was able to hang on. I knew that if we floated ashore, we'd be taken prisoners of war, he said. Then French volunteered to swim the raft away from shore. He stripped off his clothes and asked for help to tie a rope around his waist and tow them to safety. Adrian told him it was impossible, that he would only be giving himself up to the sharks that surrounded them. French responded that he was not afraid. He was a powerful swimmer and swam all night, 6 to 8 hours, until they were eventually saved by a landing craft. I've got the hair on my arm is standing up right now. This guy, French, Charles Jackson French, got in shark-infested waters to tow a life raft of wounded survivors from the sinking of the USS Gregory for 6 to 8 hours until they were rescued, swimming, dragging over a dozen people through the water. If you can't picture the exhaustion, just being in the water for 6 to 8 hours alone can cause serious harm to you, from temperature and dehydration and exhaustion and drinking in salt water, which furthers your dehydration. And then he's dragging people around his waist. And there's a quote here from French on his description of what happened. Basically, I can't, you guys have to go in there and read it. I can't read it. Some of the language in it, I can't read it. You guys can go read it. He made a decision that, based on what he knew about being captured by the Japanese, that it was worth it to jump into the water and risk it swimming. And he even had sharks touching his feet in the water. He said he decided at least being eaten by sharks would have been quick, and being captured by the Japanese was, who knows. So he jumps in, and so he's got his story here. But then, and now here's the part, as inspiring as this story is, we have to talk about the ugly side, the ugly truth of what it meant to be a Black American serving in the military for until recently, until modern history. I mean, this is modern history. He probably has shipmates who are still alive. Back then, he could only join the Navy as basically a mess specialist, a cook. Was basically the only job he could get in the Navy because he was Black. Then he saves all these people, and when they get rescued by that landing craft, they tried to segregate him. They tried to segregate him only with other Black people. They said he couldn't be with the white people. And it was only because his crew was like, what are you talking about? No, he's staying with us. He's going nowhere. No, he's going nowhere. He's staying right here with us. He just did the unthinkable and swam us through water with sharks for hours until we were rescued instead of being captured by the Japanese. And frustratedly, the guy who said he had to be segregated storms off. And for his actions, he was given a letter of commendation by the military after the fact. A letter of commendation. Discharged from the Navy, where he unfortunately went into the pit of alcoholism, the trap of alcoholism, and died at 37, having very little or no support from the military and the government after his separation of his service. Never being able to be seen for, post-traumatic stress and what he went through over there. And this is a reality for so many people. This is reality. This is a hero who had the government turn their back on him. And even other people in the military turned their back on him right there imagine you commit this act of insane heroism and bravery and selflessness. And when you're finally rescued, they're like, well, but you're Black though. How horrible is that? I can't think of a more despicable thing to do to another human being. And this is what people were doing to African-American Black soldiers and veterans until, recently. You guys should read this article. It's linked in the chat, and you should do your own research on this guy. I've only just been reading on this and learning about this morning. I want to see what other information is out there about Charles Jackson French. Petty Officer Charles Jackson French, I believe Petty Officer is what he got out as. He's an American hero. He's a military hero. He's a World War II American hero who had the military turn their back on him, and he died at 37 years old from alcoholism. It's bone chilling. Totally bone chilling. I just wanted you guys to know about who this is. That anytime that there's a story like this, I want to share it with you guys. Because, and look at this photo scan and this kind of low quality photo scan on your screen right now of his baseball card of him swimming through the shark infested waters. I don't even know how he did it. A strong swimmer to drag over a dozen people through the ocean for 6 to 8 hours. It's superhuman, honestly. And he did it, and he's a hero. And unfortunately, the story had a tragic ending. I need you guys to know. I need you guys to know that this is a veteran here. This is a sailor. And then and this is the reality of, a time of segregation. He also talks about how Black veterans in World War II knew that their actions determined the future for Black Americans in the military. As Black Americans going into the military, the way that they perform in war is going to determine the eligibility for Black Americans to join the military in the future. So it was on their shoulders to outperform, to do their best, to go above and beyond, because that would be the legacy and the reputation for Black Americans in the future. This is who I want to, highlight today is Charles Jackson French from the USS Gregory. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching that clip from our live show. We're live right here on YouTube, Sunday through Thursday, 1800 Pacific Standard Time. If you want, come on by, join the chat. I'd love to hear from you. If you like that video and you want to see more, consider checking out this video right here or subscribing to the channel with this button right here. I look forward to talking to you really soon. I'm out for now.